Welcome to episode 26 of the Play Your Yards Right podcast. As always, I'm Sasha here with my wonderful co-host, Sarah. Good to get back to a little bit of normalcy, but boy, my sports and everything life have just been an absolute disaster. So it's good to be back, and I feel like I just need to talk this out. This is hard over here.
Yeah, I know. I was like, this is going to be an interesting podcast for me between you. I can only imagine the state of Mike right now with the Buffalo Bills, which we'll let him come on about that later. But yeah, I don't like as a Giants fan, I know you had some stuff going on over the weekend. Did you watch that game in its entirety? I like, how do
Oh
you do
yeah.
that? That's what I
Uh,
need to know.
well, first of all, the way you said that sounded rude. But yeah, it's just kind of part of it, I guess. It's I just have to. You have to eat the shit. So for some reason, the sports transcends a lot of that. I think I heard this somewhere where it was like I love the Giants. I love football. I think that there are more bad Giants games than good Giants games. And if there was a TV show that had more bad episodes than good episodes, I wouldn't like that TV show. But for
hmm
some reason, I just can't stop watching. It's just part of what I do, I guess. I don't know. It's part of life. I have never really questioned it until now, wondering why I do this to myself. But here we are, and I can't stop. And now I guess I have the podcast excuse where it's like, oh no,
Yeah.
I have to watch this. But like, Andrea knows, she just sees me going through this pain every week. And it's like,
hmm
yeah, I guess I'm still gonna do this. But now I just have the reason where it's like, oh no, I have to do it for the podcast. Like full well
Yep.
knowing, regardless of what was going on, like I would be watching the
Yeah.
Giants get absolutely blown out. But before we jump into that, I do have to do a little Premier League update because basically, as you mentioned last week, this has been just an absolute roller coaster over the past 10 days. My grandma died. I just got COVID on the flight home from California. And then Tottenham is just absolutely shitty. Everything bad that could have happened in the Premier League has happened. So
Mm.
basically, the one thing everybody was always worried about is like our depth was not great. Our starting lineup was gelling super well. Everything was going amazing. But as far as bench players and secondary players, you start playing more games, guys get tired, things happen, whatever. We don't have a ton of depth. And then literally in one game against Chelsea, we had our two basically center back defenders. One guy, Christian Romero, ended up getting a red card, which basically gets your team sent off. You're off for that game, and then you get suspended for 3 games after that you just can't play.
Wow.
Mickey Van de Ven, who's been like an absolute rock star, also basically our second center back defender. He told like I think now it just came out grade 2 tear of his hamstring. He'll be out at least 6 to 8 weeks. We had another guy get 2 yellow cards, which means it's a red. So he sent off for that game, and then he was suspended 1. So we missed that game. We hadn't lost a game in all 9 games. We're at the top of the table, and then we lost 2 straight games, and then had significant injuries. James Madison, also who was like our big pickup in the midfield, he has like an ankle injury now that he's going to be out till January also. So it's basically when it rains, it pours. Nothing was going right. Lost the last 2, and I need something to get me out of this right now, because also just being locked in here having COVID kind of stinks, and it's like having some fun sports to watch would be nice.
Yeah. What's gonna get like what's the more likely thing here? Probably Tottenham coming back because I feel like the Giants, like what's on the horizon there?
I don't know what you're doing to me right now, but I guess it's more likely that they'll end up with a better record. But now I'm in full tank mode, and I think everybody else is on the Giants, because I just for some reason I can basically set my watch to it now. I will just be getting a ESPN alert for Brian Dable saying, "Oh, look! Guess we're starting Tommy DeVito again." So it's like I just got
Right.
that today. Don't know why we keep doing that if we're not in tank mode. Like there has to be somebody else out there that would be better that we'd be able to pick up, or like even Matt Barkley. I think we signed him to the practice squad. Seems like you may have a better chance with him. So I'm just assuming we're in full tank mode. But before we get to that, we have to touch. Before you've already been taking your shots, I figure we at least have to talk about
I can help it.
the Commanders and Seahawks. We have to at least, I guess, touch on that game first, because that seemed like actually a good game.
Yeah, I mean, just because of the of it, I didn't watch any of it personally. But I mean, every time I kept looking at the score, I was like, this is so classic. I think you put it on here too. It did seem like this was tie destiny for sure with this game because both of these teams just like not wanting to win it. The Commanders stay kind of relevant, like they haven't played themselves out of any potential playoff push. Seahawks, I don't know, like I feel like they're just like I don't something about them. I mean, I just feel like they're going nowhere, but like going somewhere. Like
Yeah.
it's just so hard to predict what they're gonna do. Like they might like get into the playoffs, but like everyone knows they're not gonna win a playoff game. They're not good. Like they should be decent, but and they win some games, but I just feel like they're not good. Like I don't know, maybe I just don't believe in them, but I have no real like positive insight on the Seahawks, I guess.
I completely agree. I don't know why I've just like grown to hate them so much. I think it's because like I just keep not thinking they're good, and I just like I'm a firm believer that Geno Smith isn't good, and they keep winning games, and it's like they're not doing anything crazy, they're not doing anything exciting, and it's just like I hate watching the Seahawks for some reason. But it's not even like I hate any of the players other than Geno Smith. Like
I know.
Kenneth Walker is good. That guy, Witherspoon, I can't remember his name, Devin or something.
Hmm.
Witherspoon on their
Yeah.
defense is electric. But it's just like I just feel like they shouldn't be this good. And obviously beating the Commanders is nothing to write home about. Like it ended up being a decent game.
Right.
But yeah, I feel very similar about these teams. It's like I don't know how they keep winning games. And it's like, especially like how can the Giants not win a game if like both of these teams
Hmm.
keep pulling something?
Right.
I guess good coaching and good players is the
Yeah.
obvious answer. But yeah, it seemed like a fun game, and I was just rooting for there to be a tie because both of these teams feel like there should be three numbers in their in their record at the end of the year. Like they should have a tie.
Hmm. Yeah, the Commanders have tried their hardest and they haven't yet, but they will soon. Maybe it's this weekend against the Giants. Who knows? It'd be nice. Like, what if it's like a nice like 10-10 tie or something like that? And that's what this game is giving off.
That would be so fitting for both of these teams, and the only reason I'm against that is because that will definitely come back to bite us in the ass and not get whatever Caleb Williams or
Yeah,
whoever we want in the draft. A tie would definitely ruin something for us. I don't know how, but I know that it will.
yeah. That would just be unfortunately on par. But that kind of feels like Bears energy, to be honest. Like
It
the
does.
Bears would be the team that has a tie that somehow like ruins all their draft hopes and aspirations.
And it's like the only thing that's going for them is that their number one pick is in the hands of somebody else. So it's like
Yeah.
I don't know if the Bears may end up like ruining like their 5, 6, 7 pick, whatever they end up getting. But I think that I don't know. I guess I can't definitely say that they're worse than the Giants, aside from that they do have a worse record. But the Panthers also seem like a dog shit organization and team this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
But
Well, actually, before we get into Cowboys Giants game, I'm going to Carolina this weekend for the Cowboys
whoa,
Panthers game. And I'm a little nervous because I don't know. I don't think it ended up happening. But last week I saw this thing that Carolina fans were organizing a march at the stadium. It said on Sunday, which last week they played the Thursday night game. So I wasn't sure if this march was like this past Sunday, which would kind of make no sense because like who's at the stadium when like the Panthers aren't playing? It's just an
yeah,
NFL Sunday without them, or if it's this upcoming Sunday against the Cowboys. But I didn't know there was enough Carolina Panthers in this country to organize a march
yeah.
like in protest. I don't really know if I want to be there when this is happening because I don't know what type of people show up to something like this. Like I
Not
feel like
cool
Carolina
ones.
fans, they're not normal football fans. I don't think.
I don't think so either. I don't really know who they are. I've been to Carolina where it was in Charlotte, I believe their stadium is. I've been there once. I saw their stadium. That whole stadium, that whole area of the country just always feels very weird to me because everything is just like
Yeah,
brand new. Like nothing was there, and now it's just like kind of all of these transplants of people that now just work at banks down there. So
yeah,
everybody looks exactly the same. They have their little like they have their vests on. They all just have like their vests and khakis and their same button up shirt, their stupid haircut, and it's like all what
yeah.
these guys are all gonna march for the Panther.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think of Carolina fans as Cam Newton fans. Like they are not; those people are no longer fans of the Carolina Panthers. The people who were like bandwagon fans during the good Cam Newton era. So I'm just wondering who's left in that crowd of Panthers fans. But I guess I'll find out this
Not
weekend.
fun, not fun people, not fun people.
No.
I can assure you that. But we'll need a full recap. We'll need. I think the stadium at
Hmm.
least looks pretty cool. You'll make sure you got a good you have a good time. I'm sure, and I can't imagine them putting up too much of a fight against the Cowboys.
Hopefully the march doesn't put something in them to actually like light a fire under them because that's the last thing I need going into this. But yeah, so well, I guess we can get into the Cowboys Giants after we've danced around it enough times. I was like didn't want to gloat too much and like put too many stats in here for my recap. So I'll go first. I'll keep it quick and then I'll let you kind of vent it out. But just to start off, I know I said I wasn't doing stats, but the Cowboys put up 600 yards of offense And I know everyone's been seeing this circulating, so it's not as relevant as what I put this in here on Sunday. But they outscored the New York Giants 89-17 this year. And am I crazy for still like feeling worried that they're using up all their points on the year? Because that's what this that's what this feels like, that they might be finite.
Yeah, I think that if it was anybody but the Giants, I think that would be a valid concern. But it's like they've now done it twice in a row and they keep doing it. So I mean, was this a game? Did they lose after? No. They kept winning after they beat the Giants in the first game of the season, right? Yeah, they won the game after that. I would say
They
normally,
lost to the Cardinals relatively shortly after, but not right after.
yeah. I think if it was anybody but this Giants team, I would feel you, but I don't think I think they're having a good time out there. They're laughing with each other. They
Yeah.
get like Dak, and it just drives me crazy. But yes, they're this you
Yeah.
have nothing to worry about this affecting. This is literally nothing but a confidence booster for that team.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess to get to them having too much fun, I'm a little worried about Mike McCarthy because I personally do think he's having too much fun, and that worries me. I think when the players are feeling confident, like CeeDee Lamb is on another level right now. He's getting the ball, which obviously he should have been all along. But like he's someone who I feel like thrives in just like being in this environment where he's just like he plays better, cocky and confident. You know what I mean? And even Dak, I think most people like perform better other than Mike McCarthy. When Mike McCarthy has things going for him, he's getting the accolades, they're getting Super Bowl talks. Like that is just not good for his brain. He feels like he doesn't have to do anything. He can just kind of like sit back, sit behind his menu, just, stand there and kind of look cute in his mind is what he thinks he's doing. It's quite the opposite. But him having too much fun, like the shots of him giggling with Dak on the sidelines, I was like internally struggling because part of me is like, oh my God, am I warming up to Mike McCarthy? Like, do I like him now? Like, and I hate that. I hate
Yeah.
that because I firmly like, I want someone to hate and blame when things go wrong. And, I'm a Dak supporter. Like, I can't blame him. So I have to have McCarthy.
Yeah.
And the fact that I was like, oh, like, look at them. Like, no, I'm back on my train. Like, he needs to get it together. He's having a little too much fun. I want him serious. I want him locked in. I think you can get that. Like, I need to see what he's like this weekend against the Panthers game. If he comes out here and he's giggling and pulling off like weird trick plays that he can pull them off regardless, but then that's not what I want to see because they can't. Whenever the Cowboys get the media circulating like Super Bowl contenders, things like that, it just goes to their head. And I think it starts with the coaching staff. So hopefully this game they stay humble and they don't let this, they see who they played, I hope, and don't, take this for more than what it was, really.
Yeah, I don't I don't know if this could be any better timing for them. It's like I guess maybe you would want like a better team in between the Panthers and the Giants, because it's like you want your team coming in a little confident, knowing that knowing what they can do. But like these two big confidence booster games in a row is pretty crazy. And I guess it's like it's a divisional opponent, like they're always going to get up for the Giants. So I guess maybe there could be a little fear of like a step back, play down to your opponent's level, but I really think that the Panthers are that bad. I don't think you should have anything to worry about. But as soon as I'm saying that, that's exactly the time to be worried.
I feel like they're going to come out sluggish. I already know, and I'm going to be panicking. But then hopefully, like that's it, and they right the ship from there. But I mean, I think the ultimate hack for the Cowboys the past few games has really been in Dak. I mean, his mobility and him being more comfortable in the pocket and having the option to run has like leveled up his game so much. He had 404 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 25 completions. It doesn't, I mean, obviously it helps. His wide receivers have looked incredible. Like I said,
Yeah.
CD is playing like a top wide receiver right now, and they're getting him the ball, which I love to see. Finally, Brandon Cooks is heating up. I mean, like I said, the first like 5 games of the season, it was like, why on earth did we even go out of our way to get this guy? But they're getting him involved. He looks good. He looks so freaking fast still, like unreal speed. They have a new wide receiver, Brooks, who looked pretty good. They were throwing him in at the end, kind of in garbage this time, but he's like on the taller end for wide receivers. So I feel like that brings a good element to the game for them. That they kind of like have been missing in Michael Gallup a little bit because he's more one of those like bigger physical receivers, but him and Dak have just not been connecting this year. He did have the touchdown in this game, so that was good to see. But I mean, they also have Tolbert, who's showing more promise. They're like loaded in the wide receiver front lately. And I think the way CD's playing, like, yeah, I want them to get these other guys the ball, but when it comes down to it, he needs to be their go-to. And it feels like we have an abundance of riches in the wide receiver. And I'm like, this feels like almost too good to be true here. Like it was kind of like the cornerback situation for a little bit before Trayvon got hurt. But yeah, I mean, Their offense looks great. Defense is what we thought they were. They're playing very solid and very well. So I think they're shaping up really well. And I mean, how could I be upset about really anything other than Mike McCarthy being too happy during this game? That's pretty
Yep.
much it.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing I can say to you is don't get too excited about how talented your team is after playing these next two games. I mean, obviously, Commanders are probably also not that good coming up in a few weeks, but that Seahawks, Cowboys, Bills, who may not be that good.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see what everybody
Yeah.
what everybody looks like against a real team, because honestly, this just feels like the Giants are putting a high school team out there, and
Mm-hmm.
they can make just about anybody look good. So I just
Yeah.
kind of feel like the Giants are just pathetic, and it's like we're knowingly just tanking, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
it sucks during the game time. It's kind of like an afterwards thing where I'm like, all right, it's good that we lost. Like maybe Caleb Williams really is good, or whatever. This guy Drake May, or maybe we end up with that whatever Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't watch enough college football to know. And also, it's like even the people that do watch college football all the time still have no idea. Like
You
there's
don't know how it's going to translate into the
yeah,
NFL.
there's never been a sure thing. Like outside, it's like it's always you can look back and be like, oh, Andrew Luck was like the sure thing, but it's like Jamarcus Russell. People were pretty sure was like gonna be really good, and he just he
Yeah.
never meant up to wound up being anything. So it's like I don't know. I can't sit there and watch the game and root for us to lose, but it's like afterwards I need to take a deep breath. And then I literally today I just went back and I was watching like the helmet catch, David Tyree beating the 18-0 Patriots
Mm-hmm.
Super Bowl highlights, and like got a little verklempt. It could just be my COVID brain. But I was like, I was feeling emotional. I'm like, all right, this feels good. So I feel like that's just what I need to do more.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically it. It's just like that. I feel bad for Saquon. Like,
Yeah.
what do you think? Is Dayball like a bad coach now? Like he just what happened from last year? Like, are you seeing anything differently? Like, I don't even know what to make of this.
He looked like extra pathetic on the sidelines of
Yeah.
this game. Like every time they panned to him, I was getting like the Mike McCarthy like deadpan face vibe where
Yep.
he just looked like a few times he honestly looked like he was going to burst into tears, which like I couldn't have blamed him based on
Yeah.
that scenario. And then like you have Darius Slayton and whoever he's fighting with on the side, that like things are unraveling in like the early third quarter, like teammates fighting on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Like it looked like so much pain. And like in his defense, like I can't even imagine just like having to stand out there and like keep somewhat poker face on during
Yeah.
that game. But yeah, I don't like, is it the personnel? I like just like these shit. Like, is he not someone who can like handle these shifts and like injury? I don't really know what it is, but this year he is not a good coach based on this year.
Yeah, I don't know if they're telling him to tank to like because they really think this highly of somebody in the draft, which like I doubt. I don't know. He looks like he's still fired up, and you're still coaching for your job. And it's like unless you have some sort of handshake agreement with like the GM and the owner, where it's like it doesn't matter how bad you do this year. I just feel like you'd want to be making some sort of changes. And it's like I want to blame
Right.
it that we do have a third string quarterback going out there, but it's also we didn't look good when Daniel
Mm-mm.
Jones was playing. So it's not like that was the real linchpin and stuff. It's like we weren't like a 3-0, 4-0 team when Daniel Jones went down.
Right.
So it's like, but it's like this guy is not going to have a job anywhere else. Whatever. DeVito. And they just spend all this time talking about like his goofy Italian family. It just feels like he's from The Sopranos, and it's kind of hilarious. But just kind of what
Mm-hmm.
you were alluding to about like the personnel. So obviously, if you didn't just play the Giants as a Cowboys fan, or like somebody who is a fan of the Panthers, somebody who's a fan of somebody not in the NFC East, how many people outside of like Saquon and Waller and Daniel Jones, like can somebody name on the Giants? Like
There very few.
who do we have? Like we got nothing. Like, no, like I don't like our number one receiver is what Wandale Robinson, and like I don't think a not like somebody who's very like a general sports fan, like somebody who's not very into football, is gonna like know anybody on our team. Like maybe Kayvon Thibodeau, but I
Mm-hmm.
just like we don't have guys, we don't have people, we don't have like, and like I guess it kind of worked last year, and we were able to string some wins together, and I thought we did get more talented, which is still like adding Jalen Hyatt. Yeah, that's kind of like
Right.
I guess Waller should have been something, but also if you look back at his stats of the past couple of years, it's not like he was really lighting the world on like complete fire.
No, and you're counting Daniel Jones in there as someone, but like, is he? He's the quarterback, yes. So we know his name, but is he really like a name? You know what I mean? Like, he's not high up in there in the rankings, and obviously Waller is contingent upon his play and injuries
Yeah.
and stuff. So like, ultimately, you really just have Saquon, is what it boils down to. And I don't know how he got himself up to go out there and like participate in that game because like the first few drives when they were just like in their own end zone and like,
Yeah.
everyone in the whole entire stadium knew they were feeding it to Saquon.
Yeah.
He just had to be like, my hamstring. Like, why did he not fake an injury and get out of there for the sake of his own physical and mental health?
Just anything. I do feel like there's something like about these athletes that there is just like I'm not gonna say broken, but there just is something in their brains that is just like they're built differently than everybody else. Like they need to compete, they need to get out there, and like in our minds, we're like, I'm not gonna go do that. You're like, I don't want to go get hit by Micah Parsons. Like I don't want because they know fuck way. I mean, what he threw for 2 touchdowns, DeVito did, but it's like nobody cared. I don't know if anybody was even playing.
Right.
Like just like it was one of those touchdowns that like they couldn't even like. You watch these NFL games, like these D backs or receivers will like get up and celebrate like a 9-yard catch or like a pass deflection on like a first down on like on like the 50-yard line. It was literally like what Sterling Shepard caught that touchdown and was like, I can't even pretend to celebrate right now. So it's just like, yeah, Saquon knows he's getting the ball. The defense knows he's getting the ball. And I mean, like, he's still insanely talented. Like, honestly, the fact that he got like 66, 67 yards, whatever he did, I think is still insanely impressive because it's like, how do we have one guy? Everybody knows where the ball's going, and like he can still get more than a yard. So it's like, I guess that's what I hang my hat on. If I were him, it's just like, I guess I'd want to just leave. If winning's important, it's like I don't know what's important to him. If it's just money, if it's playing in New York, if it's who knows. But if you want to win, it's not happening soon.
At this point, do you think there's a chance like Daniel Jones played his last game as the Giants like starting quarterback?
No, because I think that we signed him to a deal, and I think that he will stay on. He just seems like a kind of guy that like we would bring in. We'll draft somebody and be like, Daniel, you're gonna stay on as the backup, and he's just like a dog that like there's a new puppy around, and he's like, okay, he's not going.
Yeah.
Like, and then inevitably because it's the Giants, we'll do something stupid or somebody will get injured and he'll end up starting another game. So I think that he will start again. I don't think that he will go into another season as the projected starting quarterback for the entire season for the Giants. I just have no faith in things going well, and I just know that like somebody's going to get injured, and it's going to be like third quarter. Daniel Jones is trotting out there, and we're like, maybe he could do it again.
Yeah. And how open to last question before I stop in? How open are you to Carson Wentz if you're in the market for quarterbacks?
No. I mean, I guess what it could be exciting. I guess it's going to be somebody who can throw the ball more than Tommy DeVito. Maybe I guess it's like I wouldn't want him more than for a rental for a few games. Like if you have to sign him to some deal beyond this season, absolutely not. But I don't think they would have to do that. And it just kind of would be funny. It would be very Giants to just have that guy come in, and maybe he'd beat the Eagles. That seems like a kind of thing that he would come and the Commanders would beat the Eagles as old, and those fans would be super pissed about it. So I guess whatever. Fuck it. I just talked myself into it. Yeah, that would be like
I'm behind it.
Insult to injury to the rest of the NFC. So, yeah.
I would love nothing more.
Well, listen, you enjoy this. This is going to be fun. You got a good couple weeks. Do you think you can catch the Eagles in the standing? You think there's any way you're getting a home playoff game? You're winning the NFC East.
I haven't ruled it out, but I'm not banking on it. Like I'm going into it whenever I'm like looking at the playoff predictions, I'm anticipating us being like the top wild card spot, but I haven't entirely ruled it out. Like this weekend, I know it's very low on the totem pole of tiebreakers, but like your total points against like divisional rivals, I was like, we need to run up the score against the Giants. God forbid this comes down to like somewhere where we're teetering all the way down on like how many points you scored against NFC East teams. I was like, we've got their number because the Eagles have hardly beaten the Commanders twice in a row now, and we've developed this 60 plus something spread on the Giants here. So I was like thinking about that a little bit this weekend, but I think it's best for me if I just anticipate a wild card scenario, because that does seem more likely at this point, because Cowboys have a really tough stretch coming up. The Eagles do too, though.
Yep.
And they're a little beat up. So I feel like I'll have to get a better idea after the Eagles come out of the bye this weekend and we're able to see them. They're playing the Chiefs this week, I think. Is that this week, right? I believe so.
Eagles Chiefs, I believe so, yes.
Yeah. So I think I'll get a better idea on the status, how healthy they were able to get during the bye and things like that. I mean, if they lose against the Chiefs, then ask me next week and I'm all in that we're winning the division 100%.
I think we'll listen Monday night at Arrowhead. I think you could be getting a little confident, but also, I mean, the Eagles have a pretty tough run coming through also. You know, they're playing the Chiefs and then the Bills, which, I mean, who knows what we're going to get. We'll get into that with Mike a little bit later. But then the 49ers, Cowboys, Seahawks. So that's a good little stretch there that might be kind of tough. But then finishing with the Giants twice and the Cardinals feel like a couple free wins at the end of the season. So I think it will end up being pretty close. And I'm very excited to see how things shake out this week.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, does it mean I don't want to say like I'm not taking a shot at you for the last time, but in my head, I was like the Cowboys have two more to play the Commanders two more times, and the Eagles have the Giants two more times. And the Commanders can be frisky, especially those late season games that the Cowboys kind of like overlook them in a hard stretch. I was like, they might go 1-1. Like in my head, I'm honestly have them potentially losing one of these games to Commanders. Where the Eagles, I'm like, oh, they get the Giants, like automatic, 2 wins. They can even rest people if they're injured at that point. And so that's like been a big deciding factor in this for me is the fact that the Eagles have the Giants two more times remaining of the season.
Yeah, this is not good for me looking at the rest of our schedule. Yeah, I just like that basically whatever. There's a week in between where the Giants go. We have to play the Eagles. Then somebody else, and then we play the Eagles again. It's going to be embarrassing. They're going to push all down the goddamn field. We're not going to be able to stop it. It's going to be horrific. And yeah, maybe we'll get a win at home in the last game of the season against the Eagles because they're resting everybody and they've already scored up their playoff spot. But whatever, we're looking too far ahead. It's a Giants 2024 draft. That's all I'm worried about.
So. That's all I can do at this point.
Well, listen, wonderful. It's as painful as this is. It's good to be back and just squeeze some of my feelings out. So I appreciate that. And I had to get that off my chest. So I despite the shots, despite all of the constant slander I'm receiving, it's so good to be back.
It is. We're happy to have you back. And I'm sure Mike feels the same. We hope with speaking of him, we'll be on next. I'm sure he's itching to just get out here, vent, be a sad boy, or maybe he's over it. I don't know. Maybe he's done with the Bills and thrown in the hat, but at least you two have each other to commiserate in your misery.
I've known Mike a lot longer than we have here. Any new listeners, I've known Mike for a long time now. I can assure you one thing, he is not over it. So we'll pick his brain. He was hot on the gambling locks last week. I know the stinky dog still remains to be defeated, but on his three locks, he was 3-0. So we will be able to give him his flowers a little bit there, and we'll see what he has for this week coming up. So we will be back with you all momentarily. All right, and welcome back to Play Your Yards Right. We are here as always with the Play Your Bets Right on Twitter X. The owner of that account, who's out here just absolutely killing it, Mr. Michael Blasl. Before we get into the bets, figure this is a rough week. I had a rough week basically all around sports-wise. We need to give you a platform to say whatever you need to say about your Buffalo Bills.
Did they lose? I missed the game. I thought that was what was the score?
No, I didn't even watch. What do you mean they won?
No way. I thought after the opening play fumble, we were definitely good to go.
Yeah, they took James Cook fumbled. They took him out to put in Latavius Murray, which has never been a bad
smart
idea.
Coaching. Yeah. Smart coaching all around.
So, but there's been a lot of big shakeups. A lot of news in the media. Obviously, that'll usually happen after any primetime game, especially a primetime loss like that. Fire Ken Dorsey, your offensive coordinator. Things are changing. Things are feeling weird. I talked to you right after the game. You were none too happy about it. I want to know, now that you've had a couple hours, couple days to marinate on stuff, how are things doing? Your Zoom background, for all those of you watching on YouTube, might say it all, but I figure we can let you do it for the audio listeners.
Well, to describe my Zoom background, I am the dog sitting in a room on fire saying this is fine because I'm going to, I've talked myself back into 30%, 37% chance to make the playoffs, which is, better than a lot of my bets odds. So, if I'm going to bet on myself, I should bet on my team. I'm not there. There's nothing better for the future of a team mid-season than to fire your offensive coordinator. And everybody knows that. So we have that going for us now.
We've been saying that. We say that all the time. Yeah. It's always just, fire. You wanted to start doing well, fire your offensive coordinator.
I'm just shuffling the deck chairs around on the Titanic right now.
Yeah.
To really let the listeners in, I used ChatGPT because I couldn't get deeper into my feelings and I needed it to help me. So I asked it to, if we could quickly, to describe the stages of grief as if I was a football team fan of a football team, specifically the Buffalo Bills. So we have denial. Initially, I might be upset about poor performance, and I won't read the whole thing, although I have been rereading it to try to affirm my, that I'm okay. Second stage would be anger. I was definitely there. You guys were with me for some of that. As the losses accumulate, you may have felt frustration and disappointment for sure. Bargaining. I've been there. Maybe we trade for Devontae Adams. Maybe we're going to turn this around. Maybe Matt Milano didn't tear his ACL. You might find yourself thinking about what could have been, it says. And I'm like, you're right. Thank God for AI. Stage 4 is a good one, depression, which I'm trying to figure out where I'm settling in at. And I think it's right about here. As the performance continues to disappoint, you may feel a sense of sadness or despair that you want to put your Zoom background as a room on fire. But what's really nice to know is what comes after this, everybody, is acceptance. And ultimately, it involves, as ChatGPT says, acknowledging the current state of the team and understanding that not every season goes as planned. And you got to try to support them despite the challenges. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm at acceptance. I feel like with every win, it's going to push me further back up the stages of grief and take me further away from the peaceful state of acceptance.
Right. I feel like once every Sunday comes around, every time the Bills start playing, there's a nice tap dance between anger and depression that will continue to happen until the season's over. But that's part of the great part. That's part of the great thing about sports. I mean, unfortunately, Sarah doesn't get to feel that too much this year. Things look pretty good on her end. But I've been in.
That feels like a jinx. That feels like a jinx.
Yeah. I definitely didn't.
No, nothing could ever happen.
So I've been living in acceptance for a little while now. But it's mostly
isn't it nice?
Well, yeah,
acceptance.
But acceptance. I got to acceptance a little faster because I mean, the writing was on the wall immediately. And the expectations were not really there for this team. So I think it's a much harder fall from grace, knowing what you went into the season expecting to feel, and everything else that you kind of thought would happen. So this is not a simple slip into acceptance, I would imagine.
No, but I got this pure feeling of joy the other day as I realized one of life's simpler things. And I don't know, I wanted to ask you guys if you experience this. Do you know what the best part about winter is?
What?
It's that you get to wear a coat and you get to have those extra pockets. It's not about the coat itself. I experienced the joy of being able to have more room to put all my stuff in.
Okay.
And I felt like, in the despair of and desperation of losing in football season, I didn't have to jam 17 things into my pocket. And I was like, you know what? You got to be happy about the little things in life.
That's very insightful of you.
It's getting dark over here, guys.
Yeah, things are bad. So
4 pockets are better than 2.
That's what they always say. I think that was Confucius.
Yes. So the Bills, we're gonna lose to the Jets, so I feel better, but maybe we'll beat the Jets. We have major issues around all over the team, but Deshaun Watson going out for the year is maybe a glimmer of hope in terms of fighting for our playoff chances. And I was on a Reddit that the thread is about teams you should root for if you're a Bills fan, in order for the best results for the playoffs. And there is a scenario where, and I won't go into it because it involves basically every team and head to heads and strength of schedule, strength of victories. But if everything runs a certain way, obviously number one being we win, we're in 7th place at the end of this week. So with being able to control our own destiny. So I guess we'll just start there, one game at a time.
Let's dive right back in. Let's dive right back into bargaining.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So here we are, and I'm keeping it as my reference, and apparently I'm back at 3.
Yeah.
Bargaining.
So overall, just my general takes. Does Josh Allen throw the ball too hard?
Well, I guess. I mean, you're getting paid millions of dollars to catch it. He's putting it in their hands. He does throw it too hard. When it's not on target, it's a disaster.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it is. When you're not putting enough touch on the ball, it's like if you don't put it right where it needs to be, it's going to get picked off. That's what happened on that second pick. But the drop by Kincaid and even more disgusting was the drop interception by Gabe Davis. it's so deflating for the entire team to have a play that should have definitely gone right 99% of the time, not only go wrong, but to be tipped into the hands of a guy and take the wind out of the sails after you've had the wind taken out of your sails from the fumble. And you could just see like the panic and the way they were running the offense and the way like that fumble and the handoff between Josh Allen and James Cook. Later on, the lucky fumble that he had, Cook, it was all in his head.
Yeah.
The whole team was just, it was too many ups, and they're waiting for the Bills to come back, and they keep making them feel like they're going to get there, and then collapsing on drives. He does. He throw it to. He's not confident like he was. That's more so than the fact that he does have a cannon of an arm, and I love it.
Yeah.
He's not trusting himself either. He's pump faking guys that are open and then throwing them the ball, and it's like, oh, he's not seeing it. Like he's not trusting his eyes right now. And then when he is trusting his eyes, he's whipping it to the safety, which is also probably not great.
Super.
But we won that game. 12 men on the field. Sasha, you've watched enough football with me to know I have no patience for the coaching losses.
Yes.
I don't accept not understanding clock management. I played a ton of Madden in my life, and I feel like I know every moment when we should call a timeout, and it's not that hard. I understand there's a lot of pressure, but again, they're being paid millions of dollars. This is all they do for a living. I go to work, come home, take care of my family. I still know to call a timeout, or to maybe not call a timeout because we're going to need them later. And to not be able to not have your systems in place to have 11 guys on the field it's disgusting. It's disgusting. That's worse than the 13-second loss, because these coaches, the one thing you can't do as an NFL coach or as a coach of any sport is be a direct factor in the loss. It's hard enough to fucking get the players to win.
Yeah.
You can't mess it up.
Right.
You
can't be getting in the way.
You can't. You have to just get out. Right. You're just there to help advance the things. And if you're not prepared, how do they trust that they're really prepared?
Yep.
You can't get your shit together. How do they trust that like what you're telling them to do is correct? And I think that's a lot of why Dorsey's gone. I think that's why if we don't turn this thing around, McDermott's gone at the end of the year. It's just you can't fire a 5-5 coach right now. Your whole team, what do we do? Like we're too good to be bad. It would look horrendous. And so I don't know. Preparation, I don't know what these guys are doing, or if the moment's too big for McDermott, which I think I've seen enough of now that I don't really trust him anymore. But that game was won. We played like shit, and we won that game. They missed the field goal. Game over. Go home. 6-5. It doesn't matter how you win; it's that you win. But to blow that call was a nightmare. And to the point that I said to Sasha on the phone over the week, I was texting and I said, you know what? I want Bill Belichick. I want to go to the dark side. I want to go to the dark side. Take me home, Daddy.
Just go full heel. I mean, listen, he's defensive coach. He knows the division.
Yeah.
I think, I don't think he would ever do it, or the Patriots would ever somehow let that happen. But it'd be fun to watch him with Josh Allen.
I think the problem is there's not trust in the coaching staff to deliver because they are unsure of themselves. And I don't know if that's a lack of preparation or a lack of ability, but the same way a quarterback can't be good, I think there can be areas of coaching that aren't good. And Sean McDermott does not have a grasp on end of game management.
Yeah.
And Andy Reid used to have that problem with the Eagles. He was horrendous. It was like the biggest joke was that Andy Reid he had to have a time management coach.
Yep.
But, and he fixed that. But people forget Andy Reid, before he was like, this guru and the savior, was like the guy who he was McDermott, the guy who couldn't get it done.
Yep.
But Andy Reid's on the Chiefs now. McDermott, maybe he's going to figure it out somewhere else, because I don't think he's going to figure it out on the Bills. Not with the way this is going.
I feel like
bummer.
I feel like I kind of can relate into this, and that like when things are going bad for the Cowboys, Mike McCarthy is also a terrible coach in terms of his clock management.
Fat.
It's like, that's essentially what it is, because he just cannot organize the brain cells to get it right. But like, it's so much worse when like everything else is going bad, but he definitely struggles with the big moments. But I think like the biggest problem when the Cowboys look their worst is that when that happens to impede upon like Dak Prescott's play and their relationship, their confidence in each other, and things are going right, like, and that gap just continues to widen between the two of them, which I feel like is what is happening in Buffalo with Josh Allen and McDermott now. And that sometimes is like, you can get to a point, I feel like, where you're beyond repair when like that relationship between coach and quarterback is no longer in trust.
Yeah, a quick thing. They fired Kellen Moore from the Cowboys, the golden boy of offense, because I think a lot of that had to do with the late game management when Dak Prescott, when they ran up and tried to spike, they had him run, he ran the ball and slid and they ran out of time and that's it. Season's over. Like you've seen this throughout the league. And I'm not saying there's 28 great coaches. There's bad coaching everywhere. And it's an epidemic, but to be able to get over the hump, look a la Andy Reid, you have to figure that out because there's no margin of error at the absolute peak. And Mike McCarthy's, big fat Mike McCarthy might rear his ugly head at another point in the end of the year. Who knows? But until that, Kellen Moore loses his job because someone's got to go, and he's going to be the first one to go down. And that's what happened to Ken Dorsey. I think unfairly to him, that freak out of him in the booth has always come back to like bite him in the ass, where like they make fun of him about it, which I never understood because like as a guy, that's a coach I want, a guy who's like ready to like burn the building down because we were so close to winning a game. But they use it as like a laughing point against. I think it made him more of an easy scapegoat for what was going on. But in 12 months, we've fired Leslie Frazier, we've fired Ken Dorsey. There you go, Sean McDermott. It's up to you now. And Joe Brady, by the way, me and him, he looks like my brother from another mother, so I'm a big fan. And then I sadly looked him up, and I'm like, oh, he's a young guy. I'm like, how old is he? And I'm like, oh, he's younger than me. Uh-oh, I'm older than coaches now. This is bad. But they really quick, they said that this. I saw a good tweet that this was a Breaking Bad analogy to what happened to Ken Dorsey. Have you guys all seen Breaking Bad? Yes. Otherwise, I'll save it. All right. So, and I'm sure a lot of people listening have. Firing Ken Dorsey was a way of sending him a message to Josh Allen because you couldn't actually bench or cut him. It says, reminds me of the scene where Gustavo Fring cuts Victor's throat in front of Walter and Jesse when they think it's going to be them because he has to send a message because he can't kill them. So it's basically they took Ken Dorsey down and went, see, Josh, you won't stop throwing interceptions, and this is what happens. We can't cut you, so we're going to have to get rid of him. They killed his friend because him and Ken Dorsey were close. So message is sent. It's 5-5. The year that we lost to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship, we were 7-6 before we won 4 out of the last 5 games to get to 11. So there's still plenty of time, and ton of shit happens. Deshaun Watson's out for the year. Look at Leighton Vander Esch. Sorry, his career might be over for the Cowboys. Yeah. Daniel Jones takes one bad step, ACL, season over. So who the hell knows? We can't lose to the Jets twice. I can't do it. I'm going to have ChatGPT do my segment of the podcast next week if that happens.
Yeah, this is not the easiest schedule to end the season for the Bills. So it's really going to be some nut up or shut up time, and I completely agree.
Yeah.
With you. It almost seems also that it's just, I love that Breaking Bad analogy, but it also seems that now McDermott has kind of, there's no shields anymore. Like if this doesn't work, he's not able to turn this around. Like there's nobody else to point the finger at. There's nobody else to fire other than him. So this is really these next
is it.
Yeah, Jets, Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys, Chargers, Patriots, Dolphins. I mean, he better be fucking ready.
Well, quickly, Jets should be a win, Chargers should be a win, Patriots should be a win. So that gets me to 8. I need to get to 11 wins to make the playoffs, in my opinion. 10's not going to do it because we're 2-5 in the conference, which is horrible. So you're looking at, I think we can beat one of Dallas. We can only lose one more game. So we have to either beat the Eagles, which I think we can do going into the bye, like get the Jets, get momentum, beat the Eagles, a little banged up Hurts. They can't win every game. I mean, maybe, but they just can't. That's just not how it goes. This level of consistency from them is ridiculous. Then we get Dallas at home in the cold in Buffalo. No offense, but I like my chance. I like that as a winnable game. We've beaten the Chiefs the last 2 years during the regular season. Chargers suck. And sorry, no, go.
No, I can picture McCarthy's red face with his goofy little Cowboys hat on, like just
I can't.
confused in the snow.
Yeah, cross-eyed, not knowing what to do.
Yep.
And Chargers are a mess right now. What are they going to look like 5 weeks from now? You talk about the Bills in shambles. Staley's going to be, if he's not gone, he's going to be a sitting duck coach at that point, a lame duck coach. So there's that. And then at the end of the year, we've got the Dolphins. And you know what? If you could tell me this all comes down to mano a mano, Bills, Dolphins in Miami, I'll take it. I'll take my chances.
Yeah,
sure.
Measuring stick game, and also, I mean,
bring them on.
You never know. The Dolphins may have the division locked up, or they might not.
Easy.
Right, they might not have anything to play for. So I mean, that could be best case scenario. They got nothing to play for, maybe.
But best case scenario is they've lost their last 5, and we've got the division wrapped up. All right, come on now.
Oh, he's back. He's back.
Yeah. Sasha was the first person to have to send me a too soon text message after the game where I'm like, of all people, can you stop making jokes about the Bills losing?
I can't stop. But speaking of the antithesis.
All right. Yeah.
The antithesis of losing, Mike Blasl went 3-0 on his locks last week, bringing his record now, getting closer, 14-25-2. We've been counting a lot of these stinky dogs. We've been counting a lot of this stuff. So we're really going to lock it in. We're going to take down all your bets, but we're really just going to start counting those 3 best bets. Cause now you and I look like we're drinking Malort together, because in pretty short order, we have gone 0-3 and then now 3-0. So I'm pumped to see what you got for this week, week 11 coming up. Life is good. 3-0 coming off a hot streak. What do you got for this week?
All right, we're putting sad Buffalo Blasl away, and we're bringing back Mike Blasl, the gambler. Blasl soon-to-be best bets. Start off with our favorite segment. Everybody knows it. Clap it up. The Thursday night Propapalooza. Ravens Bengals. Thank God we have a game we can actually watch. I'll give it to you. It came to me very quickly, guys, which is always a bad sign. I'll lay out the way I see the game going quickly. Ravens just got embarrassed by the Browns. The Bengals, who did they win?
They lost
I
to
don't
the
even know. I was
Texans.
just focused.
Also embarrassing.
They lost to the Texans. That's right. Also embarrassing. However, Ravens I'm done fading the Ravens, although I'm not picking them in this game. Well, I'm not picking anybody in this game. My props are going to be, I think the Ravens defense is legit, and in that second half they got really embarrassed. So what we're going to do is Joe Burrow's over under for passing yards is 252 yards. We're going under. Big time. T. Higgins, if he plays, he's banged up. Jamar Chase is banged up. They are a team that relies heavily on having those 2 guys, and I just don't think – I think with the Ravens swarming defense that is relatively healthy, I don't see it happening, especially on short rest. That'll be a tough week to try to bring back Higgins, because you don't even get another full week. And Chase, if he played and is banged up and, kind of is sore, and it's not going to feel any better by Thursday.
Right.
So – there's that. I got Lamar Jackson rushing yards. I watched it with the Bills. Josh Allen was able to scramble and get the running yards necessary for him. Lamar's over-under is 44.5. I'm going to take the over in that. I think the Ravens is a divisional game. This one kind of puts the Bengals away, and that's what's really important. So, John Harbaugh, I think they're coming out for the kill. Lamar's going to do what he's got to do, and you can run on that defense. They're not as scary. They're scary up the middle. They're defensive tackles, DJ Reader and something Hill. Hutchinson and the other guy coming from the outside. Josh Allen was able to get outside of him. Lamar is going to be able to do the same thing. And because this is the way my actual football fandom season's going, to score a touchdown, I'm just going to bet my least favorite player in the NFL, Odell Beckham Jr., at plus 310 to catch another tutty.
Ooh.
Because I'll stay up all night just to watch him dance like he's the best receiver in the league, even though he'll end up with 2 catches. But one of them is going to be a touchdown at plus 310.
I like that. You just, you find the bet you hate the most on the board and you take it.
And I do like the Ravens to win. I think they're 3.5-point favorites. I think, if you are looking for anybody to back up your opinions, I think they're gonna win. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout, but they're gonna win this game.
Right.
And now we're gonna count all these as bets, other than the stinky dog, towards my actual my number. So I'm gonna give it to you. My likes and my locks.
Love it.
My likes are strictly over-unders, which I feel like I'm getting a better hang on, so I'm going to screw these up. Seahawks at the Rams, under 46.5 points.
Under 40.
I don't understand. I don't get where they're getting that number. It's been a low-scoring season. I know those teams play each other and they score a lot, but Matt Stafford's just coming back off of this hand injury. And I think, Puka Nacua, rookie, I could see him starting to hit that rookie wall, especially, they have Witherspoon, that first-round pick at cornerback for the Seahawks, who's nasty.
Yeah.
I think the Seahawks defense also, if they want to make the playoffs, they have to stand up for themselves here because they've looked horrible.
Yes.
I trust Sean McVay and that defense to sack Geno Smith enough. I just think it's not going to be 46.5. So take the under there.
Like it.
This one might be betting from the heart, but I'm going to take Dolphins Raiders under 46.5 as well.
Okay.
I think the Raiders on the road on a nice stretch. They're also they believe they're 5-5. They have a chance to make the playoffs. New coach, good vibes, good defense. I love that defense. And I think Tua struggles against good defenses. The Raiders are proving that they are that. I wonder if there's a little bit of rust. And, that offense is a lot about timing, where some teams, I feel like they hit a bye and it's just what they need. Whereas a team like the Dolphins or the Warriors, in basketball, it's a lot of what it is reps and nailing your timing and just over and over and over. So I think a break like this, it's they might almost need a week to ramp up back to that, getting everything down. They've also kind of been shook up lately. They've looked a little bit more mortal. So
I could also see this just being a 30-14 game, which I think it could be a blowout that still gets your under. Because I do think that Miami's defense is pretty decent, and I am not a believer in Vegas yet. I think I'm obviously as a Giants fan, I'm a huge fan of Pierce, but I think that he can be figured out, and I think he's very much of a rah, let's get the boys fired up kind of guy. And I don't know if he's as much of a X's and O's. We can figure out how to stop this kind of crazy Miami offense kind of guy.
Well, stick around because this under also plays into something else that I like later. Chargers Packers over 43.5. It goes against my indoor speed thing. They are in Lambeau, but I don't think the verdict is in on Jordan Love yet. I think they are still a team that's figuring themselves out. I think because he's been in the league so long, we just assume he's a third-year quarterback. It's his 11th or 12th game starting. I think he started once when the Rodgers era. But I think the Packers offense is getting healthier. I think the Chargers defense is coached by a defensive coach who can't coach defense. So try to say that 5 times fast. And the Chargers can put up points too. Herbert's third in the league overall in passing touchdowns. It's gonna be a points fest. I think this is a 27-30, a 33-27 type game. So that feels like an easy over for me. And then I usually give 3 locks, but one of these stuck out personally to me, so I have to add it as actually my Uber lock. The Uber lock. So the Uber lock of the week, responsibly put your house on this. Bills Jets under 40 points.
Ooh.
When I looked at the line, believe me, if you don't bet that today, that line's coming down. I cannot imagine that line's going up. And I wonder if it's juice because we have a new offensive coordinator. That's not how it works. The Jets I don't think are going to be able to put up more than 17. And I don't think we're going to be able to put up more than, 23. So that's a push if we get to there. I think the final score here is like 21-10 Bills.
Okay. Over lock. I mean,
I like it.
And if you're fading the Bills, then guess what the score is going to be? Like 16-7.
Right.
It's not, the Jets aren't beating us by scoring 28 points.
No.
So if you like the Jets, bet the under. If you like the Bills, still bet the under, because we haven't shown that we can put up these points, and no one can do it against this Jet team.
I like
so under. I thought that line was going to be like 36.
Yeah, betting betting Josh Allen unders always seems scary, but I think the way things have played out, I think that all makes a tremendous amount of sense, and I'm not going to bet on the Jets to score points.
Yeah. My second lock, feel really good about it. Sarah, get excited. Cowboys -10.5 at Carolina.
I like support.
Frank Reich stinks. Frank Reich is really bad. Bryce Young is not an NFL quarterback. I think this is another ass kicking, and I think that's what the Cowboys are doing really good. They're just crushing bad teams. I don't know. Don't even think anymore about it. I love the Cowboys. Sorry, Sasha, but I love them -16.5, and then I loved them when it was -17.5, and they won by 30.
And you were right. Yeah. And so, as we mentioned earlier, Sarah will be attending this game. So she said she was a little worried about them sleepwalking through it, but I think that 10.5 number, which also is sad because that tells me that Vegas sees Carolina as 7 points better than Dallas, which is embarrassing. Or 7 points better than Carolina. Carolina's 7 points better than the Giants. I got COVID brain. You know what I'm saying.
Get there. You'll get it there. I mean, it's always weird when Vegas gives you a line like that, and it's like, I don't know what it seems fishy. And a lot of times, like, if it is, it's because they're right. But I don't see it. I don't know. A win by 2 scores or more. I don't see how Carolina's going to move the ball.
I might be spreading rumors on this, and we talked about it earlier, so I'll keep it fast because everyone's going to have heard this. But for your bets, I heard that the Carolina fans are organizing a march to protest how bad their team is. So that, to me, major suspect here. That could be drawing the line in here because, that's, I feel like, enough to kind of give a team a little bit of momentum. They're still going to lose because they're not on par with the Cowboys, but maybe not as blowout as we're expecting.
Okay, I would say I don't know how much teams get excited to hear fans boo them in this generation of players. I think they're going to just, who are you guys? They're not going to get booed at by a bunch of plumbers. You know what I mean? They're NFL stars. So yes, either way, trust the Cowboys for now. I don't know if I trust them against really good teams yet, but they take care of business on the bad teams. And that's what you got to do. That's what the Bills don't do. So be happy.
I feel like there's
there's very different reasons for these, but I feel like I see a lot of similarities between the Cowboys and the Dolphins. And obviously, I think that the play calling and everything is obviously tremendously different. And I think the talent on the teams is very different. Not saying one's better than the other, but it's not like I don't see the teams as identical. But I see both of those teams as they go in against inferior opponents and they make them look like high school teams, and then when they come up against a really good team, it is not quite the same play calling, not quite the same team.
Yeah, one of my least favorite football terms that the guys who do the Bills podcast say all the time, they like to boat race bad teams. They're boat racing them. They say it way too much. So I think the Dallas boat races Carolina. The next one, I think we're looking at Bears, which I also like the over, but we're not going to talk about that. Detroit's -8.5. I think Justin Fields is coming back, and I don't know if that makes any difference. It doesn't to me. Give me Detroit -8.5. Detroit is super healthy, and they've really figured out that run game. They've really figured it out. So I think them and the Chargers having that shootout is kind of maybe made people a little weary about the defense, but the Bears aren't the Chargers. So, and Detroit's at home. And my last one, this is just because because they beat the Bills doesn't make them good. Minnesota plus 2.5 at Denver. Russell Wilson stinks. Nothing about that game made me think he was good. He's afraid to get pressured. He made a bunch of flippy bullshit passes. He got really lucky. We left the middle wide open and he ran. And then he was self-sliding so fast. It was like old, like Eli Manning when there'd be a little bit of pressure and he would just self-sack himself. Russell Wilson was self-sliding with still like 3 more yards to get. Brian Flores blitzes. We were talking about this the other week. He blitzes at the highest percentage in the league by a ton, like the highest in like years, sending 6 guys. He also, in the highest percentage in the league, sends 3 guys. So it's either like all or nothing, and he disguises it really well. I think he's an incredible defensive coordinator. They're going to either get a ton of pressure on him and get him rattled, and then they're going to drop 3 and they're going to get an interception on him. He played a clean game. I like Josh Dobbs. I think he's good. I think that Ty Chandler at running back is good. They're getting Justin Jefferson back. And they have a realistic chance to make the playoffs, whereas Denver, I mean, that's a feel-good story, but they're not making the playoffs. So
yeah, no,
plus 2.5. Take the points in case Denver wins by 1, which is what did they beat us by? 2? 2.5. There you go. You'll get it in case they send 12 men out on the field.
No, I like that a lot, and I was also thinking, is there a more annoying quarterback to lose to than Russell Wilson? I feel like that's a list we should make.
He would be number 1 on my list. Tom Brady was always number 1 for me, just because I couldn't stand. Guy wins enough. He doesn't need to come and beat me twice a year, which he did every year.
Right.
Russell Wilson's, it's pretty bad. I purposely avoided. I usually check his Twitter and Instagram because I like to laugh at like the fact of how disconnected he is from like himself. I did not watch that because I would have gotten very angry. But Mr. Unlimited, I think, is going to be very limited in Denver. Minnesota probably wins that game.
I'm with you on that. I like that. Big Josh Dobbs fan. I like all these bets. I think your reasoning is sound, and I don't see any reason why you don't stay hot.
Well, plug your nose because it's about to get stinky in here. This is my stinkiest of stinky dogs.
Oh, I feel like every week you just keep rolling in some just absolute hound.
This is a truckload of stinkiness.
Okay.
The Stinky Dog Parlay is only 2 teams, so it's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Money line only. Packers to beat the Chargers.
Ooh.
And the Raiders to beat the Dolphins.
Whoa.
Wow.
Plus 1,500.
That's big.
My notes, the Dolphins and Chargers are frauds.
Mm-hmm.
Don't need to think any further than that.
You don't need to go any further than that. They're frauds.
I kind of like that. I also do not believe in the Packers at all this year. I don't think Jordan Love is good, but I can see him. That's always what I've said about the Chargers. The Chargers are good enough to just lose by good and bad enough to lose by 3 to everybody.
And they're on the road in Lambeau. I don't know. I like Green Bay's home field advantage. The Raiders thing is it's a hunch for me. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 lines the Commanders are 9.5 point favorites, but there's basically 4 lines at 10 points or more, which is a lot. Let me tell you, one of these teams is going to lose. That's just how it goes. I don't think the Giants are going to beat the Commanders. Sorry. I don't think the Bucks are going to beat the Niners, and I do not think the Panthers can beat the Cowboys. So there's going to be a surprise out of this. It never just goes chalk like that. So Raiders beating the Dolphins, making everything interesting. If you're into the NFL, the scripted, the NFL rigged, everybody get your tinfoil hats on. I was shocked at how much they were talking about the Bills today, still on like ESPN and on these things about what's wrong with the Bills. Can the Bills get it turned around? I thought we would have been written off because that's where they wanted to that's where they want the Bills to go, is like into obscurity so that they could talk about Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. And yet all day today, we're talking about the Bills. A Dolphins loss would make that pretty interesting, everybody.
I like
All
that.
right, tinfoil hat off.
Yeah, we're
What stage of grieving is conspiracy theories? Check
I
your
think
life.
I think that's bargaining.
Yeah, that's
Denial. It's denial.
Denial.
I'm
Yep.
back to one. We worked our way back.
I like this. I like this. This is great. This is just what a growing boy needs.
You like my pain as I shuffle through the stages of grief.
You're just turning into Savion Glover. I'm not sure anybody else knows who that is actually, but it's a professional tap.
We're all just gonna have to Google it. Who is it?
Google. No, it's a professional tap dancer, bringing the noise, bringing the funk on Broadway. Weird reference, but whatever. I got COVID. Shut up. My grandma died. Go away.
Are we gonna do a tap dancing segment now every week?
Yeah. We need to. But listen, Bills are gonna win this week. The Dolphins are gonna lose. We won't even need these stages of grief anymore.
Yeah, okay. Sure. We'll see. I would love to change this background, but I'm not gonna. It's only either gonna get worse or it's gonna go back to no background. So
Love it.
The background will be my feelings.
Love it.
So look on YouTube.
Yes.
Good plug.
So to recap, we got the Thursday night Propapalooza. We got Joe Burrow under 252.5 passing. Lamar Jackson over 44.5 rushing. I love that, by the way. And Odell Beckham Jr. anytime touchdown at plus 310. So those are nice little sprinkles to hopefully build some money in the kitty going into the weekend. We got the like bets. We got Seattle at the Rams under 46.5 is way too high. Vegas at Miami under 46.5 as well. And we got the Chargers at Green Bay over 43.5. Now to step into the locks, we got the Uber lock of the week. We got the Jets at Buffalo under 40, Dallas minus 10.5 at Carolina with Sarah and the marching constituency in the building for that one. We got Chicago at Detroit. We're doing Detroit minus 8.5. And we got Minnesota plus 2.5 at Denver. So I love all of those. I think you're going to go three. Listen, we got to come up with something I got to do if you go 3 in a row, 3-0 in 2 weeks in a row.
I was going to say get COVID.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, it looks like I've already done that. So now you just need to hit these bets. Now we got the stinkiest of stinky dogs at plus 15-10 is what I'm getting it at right now. We got the money Packers money line at home versus the Chargers, and we got the Raiders money line at the Dolphins. So I love these. Let's make some money this week, hey?
Yeah, let's do it. I hope so. We'll see.
So things.
Hey, Tommy DeVito, over under chicken cutlets at Mom's this weekend.
What's the line? if it's anything over,
I'm gonna say well, listen, he's a big boy. I'm gonna say 3.5.
Oh, you're hammering the over. You know that dude's doing at least one a day.
Is Mom making gravy?
Yeah.
You making some Sunday gravy for Tommy?
How did this guy end up? And, Sarah brought up a wonderful point earlier. I think when we were off mic, said that I'm pretty sure him and Ben DiNucci are just the same guy.
Literally the same. It gives me pain. Yeah. I was wondering what I didn't like about him because I had no reason not to like him. He was letting the Cowboys trounce them, and I was like, it hit me. The Ben DiNucci vibes, like same level, maybe the same guy. Who knows?
Well, you're very anti-Italian, and we always talk about that, Sasha and I.
Yep. We talk about that a lot. That was
a lot.
So we apologize to any of our pro-Italian constituency, but make your quarterbacks better.
That's all I'm saying.
So, they've got the plumbers down.
Nailed it. Let's just get this. I also just love I live with my mom. Whatever. She does my laundry. I don't move out until I get married. That's the Italian way.
Did you see them in the crowd watching the game?
Yeah.
It was like they pulled them central casting, as I had heard. They were like they found the typical Italian family.
Hilarious.
Gabagoo. They don't have gabagoo at this game.
Well, let's get some wins this week. Sarah, have a safe trip, and Mike, let's get out of these stages of grief and let's make life good again.
Yeah, Sarah, don't worry. One of us is going to be happy next week besides you.
I'm looking forward to it. I feel like I can't rub it in a little too much. I'm having I'm part of a sad boy podcast here, but hopefully we all have good weeks next week. Sasha, I don't know what a good week is for you anymore. I don't think it's a win. I think you might have to lower the standards, but we'll get there.
Yeah, I think I go jump. I go find Tommy DeVito's family to put some cinder blocks on my feet and throw me in the Hudson.
Have you sleeping with the fishes? Very good.
Well, thank you guys for listening. As always, follow us on Instagram at Play Your Yards Right. Follow Mike, Mr. Blasl's Best Bets on Twitter X at Play Your Bets Right. That is UR for your play UR Bets Right. That's where you'll find all the hottest.
I'll get better at tweeting too. Yeah. I got to get better at being more up to it. I'll be on it more this week.
Ready to go. Love it, love it, love it. And also follow us, watch us on YouTube. You can see our beautiful shining faces. And we will talk to you next week. Thanks, guys. Love you.